It's a very weird moment because obviously I'm usually in your position at the moment, so I actually feel very unprepared. I like being in the other position because I know what's about to happen.
Yeah.
And then I've got my notes up in front of me, so I don't sound like an idiot when I'm talking because I know it's going to be recorded. But I've got no notes. I don't know what the questions are, and I just feel like what my guests usually feel like, and I'm like, oh, I don't know if I like this position.
Welcome back to the Shitty 2 podcast. I'm your host, Tommy Reid, and today I'm joined by Jemma Kinzett.
Hello.
Before we start,
having me.
You're welcome. Thank you for coming on.
That's
before
right.
Start,
it's been a long time coming.
I need to address, we had some audio issues in the last podcast. We had a lot of issues in the last podcast. So, on Skype, we found some issues with recording it straight off there. So I'm now going to try and do it separate, and hopefully it will work a little bit better. So bear with me if it's not quite perfect. Yeah. We also had issues on Spotify where the start was cut off. I'm not sure what that was, but I'm going to pay attention to it this time. And on YouTube we had some issues with it uploading, just in general. So,
right.
I don't know, it just wouldn't go up. So hopefully it will all be okay this time.
It all goes well.
If not, then I'll blame you. Sabotage from a rival podcast.
Oh gosh.
So, speaking of which, obviously, I think most people, and the way I'll probably bill this, is that you are the host of the Monday Media podcast.
Yeah, so, oh gosh, now I need to introduce myself and make myself, like, sell myself now to everyone. I don't know how to do that. It's like, oh gosh, okay, anyways, so, where should I start? Okay, so, I'm Jemma Kinzett. I am the host of the Monday Media podcast, and the podcast came about because I was in my final year of university studying creative film production, and we had to come up with this end of year final big creative project. And originally I wasn't going to do podcasting. I thought I was going to be rubbish at podcasting. And I thought, talking wise, I can talk for England, which you'll see in this podcast that I can go off on a tangent. But originally I wasn't going to do podcasting. I was going to do producing because that's another area and skill that I really like and have got a lot of contacts through that. And then I ended up going down the podcast route, and I was originally going to talk about women in the film industry and talking about our rights, representations, and where we stand as creatives and people in the film industry, because I feel like there is a big debate on women in the film industry compared to males in the film industry, and talking about their success and equal rights, and there's a whole massive discussion on it. And I was going to do it, but I just couldn't find enough people to come onto the podcast to talk about it. And then I didn't want to limit myself to one subject in the end. And then I was like, right, let's start from the beginning. What can I do? And then, because of my previous experience in producing roles, I had a look at my contact list. I was like, you know what, I've got a lot of varied people who have worked in all kinds of different jobs in the media industry, and that meant it opened a lot more opportunities for me to then talk about loads of issues in the film industry, and it meant that I could target a wider audience who love all types of different parts of film industry. And again, it meant I could explore more topics, and because in all honesty, probably talking about one topic for the whole podcast probably would have been boring. And that's another thing, like, I really wanted to make sure if I was going to focus a whole year on one project, I really didn't want to be bored. It was like with my dissertation as well, because obviously that's just like theory, and I was like, I don't just want to talk about one thing for a whole year and have like 12,000 words dedicated to this one topic that it's just going to bore me to death. So I ended up talking about Disney because I love Disney and I can never get sick of Disney. And I literally went up to my teacher and I said, I'm going to write my dissertation on Disney. And he was like, okay. And I literally said to him, I was like, because I don't want to be bored and I love Disney and I can talk for England. So as you can tell. So yeah, so that was the the podcast, and it's all going well. Been interviewing a lot of filmmakers, directors, cinematographers, script writers, and that's literally just from my own personal experience. And then I've also been reaching out to people as well. Literally, if I see them on Instagram or Facebook, I'm like, do you want to come on my podcast? It's okay if you don't. I don't blame you. And you know, we've been getting people come on. And we recently did our first ever live event with the team behind Cosmos, and they actually reached out to us for it. So that was quite like weird and surreal. And obviously that's what we're obviously been working towards. We're working towards people coming to us instead of us going to them. And that turned out really, really well. We might be doing another one soon. So, well, I hope so.
You said it now, it's got to happen.
So that's pretty much it, really. Well, podcast-wise, I need to shut up now.
I mean, you've blitzed through pretty much every question that I had to ask there, so I can already tell this is going to be like an easy podcast. I was going to ask how it came about, obviously, you explained that. I wanted to go a little bit more into how you find guests. So you've said, obviously, you just approach people. You approach loads of people, surely one of them's going to respond. So how do you, like, when you're looking at somebody, if they post something on Instagram or something, do you think I can get a good interview out of you, or I can go down that route?
I mean, obviously, you don't just want to message people and be like, come on my podcast, and then, because then you've got the whole risk of what if they say yes, and then you're like, oh crap, I don't know who they are, I don't know what to say about them. You want to kind of make sure that when you are networking with people and you want to, especially when it comes to interviews, you need to research into them beforehand. I mean, I'm not going to turn around and sit here and be like, oh yeah, I'm like a superstar, because no, there's been, with my recent episode what I've just put out, with my interview with Alex Lockwood, who won a BAFTA for his short film 73 Cows, that was, I'd never even heard of him at all. And I saw him on Facebook with his group. I don't know how it came up. I think it was because I'm friends with another director and they liked the page. That's how I saw it. And then I just messaged him. I was like, because I knew he was a filmmaker and that's literally all I knew about him. And then I messaged him being like, oh, I'd love to get you on the show to just talk about your film. Because I see it as a way of, as well as me benefiting from like talking to them and building up this podcast, it's also for them as well to get something out of it, for them to have promotion and for them to use that platform to spread awareness of issues and to basically use their voice and to take advantage of that and to obviously just spread awareness of issues that may not be represented enough in the media. So then when I reached out to Alex, I thought, nah, he's not going to respond back. I'm never going to hear back from him. And then he got back to me within the hour, and he literally said, he was like, yeah, sure, that's fine. And I was like, oh my god, great. And then I was also in the position of, oh, 1 minute, I actually need to go research him now. I actually need to go like what he's done. And then I researched into him, and then I found out he's been on the BBC, he's been on the ITV, he'd won a BAFTA, he'd met the royals, and I was like, what?
It's like gold rush coming in, like.
I was like, oh my gosh, this is so much bigger than what I expected, which was great, because then I was so surprised that he'd agreed to come on, because I was like, you've done the BBC, you've done ITV, why are you coming to me? So it gave me a challenge, and I properly researched into him, because I was like, right, okay, I need to impress, I need to really do it. So yeah, proper research into him. I watched his films, and this is going to sound ridiculous, but no, oh, please don't do this, anyone, but I found his film literally an hour before he was due to come in for the interview, and I watched the film within that hour. Luckily it was only a 15-minute film, and I was then in tears over the film, and then he walked in, and then I was like, I've just watched the film. And then I got to talk to him about it, and then I just sat there, and I get very conscious about when I'm in there, because I'm thinking, I'm like, I always see my podcast as like, because obviously knowing that he'd done the BBC and ITV and the BAFTAs, I was then thinking, I know my podcast is like right down the list. So when he came in, I was like, just to let you know, this isn't the best studio to do recording in. We've got an aircon that goes off, every 10 minutes. So I said to him, so I'm going to be getting up and turning it on and off so you don't pick it up. And I was telling him about all the issues being like, and then making sure being like, make sure your phone is nowhere near the equipment because that would get picked up. And I was thinking to myself, like, oh my God, I'm telling him all of my flaws here. And then he was just so understanding because obviously he was a film student, so he understood it. And it was so cool for if I had like an audio issue or something going on, like because obviously the microphone what I use, it's so sensitive. It can pick up anything. It can pick up a pin dropping from like the room above us and everything. And so it's good in one way, but it's not in another way. And like another thing what it does is whenever you say like the letter P or S, like it goes and that kept happening. But obviously he couldn't hear it because I had the headphones on. So I'd go say something and then I'd go, and I'd have to like re-say it, and he was like completely fine. I've gone off on a tangent. What was the question?
I think it was how do you find guests, but it's good. I mean, I think it shows that you have more of a sort of not necessarily relaxed in a bad way, but I think if someone's trying to promote a film or something, you go onto a TV show, you've got 15 minutes, you need to say everything that your producers want you to say, you need to say everything that you need to say, and then you want to have a chat and become likeable to people. I think people that are offering a podcast like you, where it's come on, just talk about your thing, people can see then a bit more. I mean, if you listen to it, he's very passionate about what he's talking about, clearly, and I think it shows, and it sort of then makes you go, hey, this guy hasn't just made it for the sake of it or whatever, he's actually wants this thing, and you feel a little bit more like you know them. So I think it's a good style.
Like, one main thing about me doing the podcast was mainly because for it to be like, if I'm going to talk about a selfish reason, it's mainly because like, well, I want to get into the film industry one day. I want to do what they're doing, and to get them onto the podcast, it's just an opportunity for me to basically be like, right, how did you do it? I want to do it. How can I get into the industry? How can I do what you did? And then putting it out on the podcast. So not only am I learning about how to get into it, but also everyone else is, because a massive topic that is on the podcast, it's extremely hard to get into the film industry. And I'd say, this is arguably in recent years, it's probably getting harder to get into the industry. And, there's people being like, oh, go get a degree that will, open loads of doors for you. And then you get the degree and then the doors are still bloody locked. So, and then there's some people that's like, you don't need a degree, you just need the experience. So you get told so many things. So you're like, you don't know what's right and what's wrong. You're like, well, what do I do? Because everyone has got their own journey into filmmaking. That sounds really cheesy, but they've all got their own unique pathway into how they've got into that. Everyone's journey is different, even like with going to uni as well. Like everyone's going to experience it differently, everyone's going to achieve their end goal differently to someone else. And that's why having that podcast is a way for everyone to be like, oh, you can do it this way, but you can also do it this way. Sometimes it's just luck, sometimes it is because they've actually worked hard and everything, or sometimes it's just someone picking up a phone because they wanted to go out and film. So it's just finding out all of these ways how you can get into the industry, and showing that even within the West Midlands there is actually a lot of hidden talent, and there is opportunities even locally where you are. So yeah, but it's also just a thing of, if you're interested in someone, it's like if you're interested in watching YouTubers and then you're sat there, or even if you're interested in a director, a book writer, obviously everyone in their mind is like, I want to ask them 1,000 questions, but I am so nervous too, but I really, really want to. So then the minute you get them in, then obviously that's your opportunity to be like, right, here's all my questions, answer them please. And yeah, it's just a way to just be like, right, how can I do this? Please tell me how, so I can do it. And then obviously you can talk about your experiences, and then they can be like, oh, you're almost there. So, and you can learn from them, and then you can develop your own skills from them, and you get to build up that reputation with them. And then it comes to a point where they see, in all honesty, it just shows you, they just need to see how passionate you are. That's all it is. It's not really about like skills or anything else, just them seeing how passionate you are about talking about it. Because like you said about when he was talking about it, and he seemed really passionate, because obviously he was really passionate, and then obviously I'm passionate about filmmaking and want to get into it, so then I was obviously elevating that onto him, and then it ended up being a thing of we became contacts. So it now, if he ever needs a runner or production assistant or someone to go buy him a can of Coke on a set, then he knows that I'd be more than happy to do it. So it's literally just like building up those contacts. So yeah, I think that's the key.
You are a dream to be doing this. There's no like pushing at all. It's just a little bit sort of what you touched on. You've got somebody comes in, you've agreed to do this podcast. It's amazing. This person's here. How do you then decide these are the questions I want to ask, and not just sort of go a bit mental and throw everything you've got at them? How do you try and pick it to go down one route and get to a final thing, or do you just sort of freestyle and say, hey, we'll go where it goes? Like,
so it's obviously, I'm the type of person that I like to be organised and prepared. I don't want to go in there and be a sitting duck being like, okay, I know nothing about you, I have no idea what to say. So what I do is obviously like research is very important, just knowing who they are and everything. And I also research if they've done previous interviews in the past, and I go to watch them and I see what they asked, and I try to avoid asking the same questions because it can get boring for them if they're answering the same questions. So I try and not ask them the same questions. Obviously, they're going to get the same questions being like, where did your journey start and what's your film about? But obviously you can't get away with those ones. But, ask them ones, but then ask them things that someone else wouldn't. So luckily with the position what I'm in and what a lot of people are, we are actually like film students as well. So we know a lot of things that can go wrong. And we're also learning how to produce films like theirs and how on earth like they won BAFTAs for their work. It's like, well, we want to do that, so how can we do that? So it's just asking, and also it's just a thing of like, you can tell I can talk for England, so I'm just going to ask a load of questions because I'm like, how do you do this? I want to do it. Why are you doing it? How? Please, I want to get in. I don't want to seem desperate, but it's just like just being curious and exploring that curiosity and just wanting to find out more from them. And I mean, here's a little secret. When I started the podcast, not gonna lie, I would prep for my episodes. I wouldn't mean to, he says, but there's a lot of podcast episodes what I've done that were prepped the night before, and you wouldn't be able to tell. Like, you'd think it would have took like quite a while to prep and research. Not just the night before. Sometimes last minute work is the best, but when you put under pressure,
it's fresh in your mind. Then that's the excuse. I think what you touched on earlier about how to sort of get into the industry, I'm not going to. Well, I want to go into that a little bit, but I remember, I think it was the first time I met you. We were both doing an open day for the college, and I remember I was taking some. It was a family of people, and I think the son was interested, and he was there with his dad. And I took them from the one room downstairs. We're going to jump in the lift, go upstairs. It's one flight, be fine. And I was going to pass them over to the studio. And I think we walking through, talking to the son. He's all interested. He's asking questions. We got into the lift and sort of pressed the button. The doors are open, and I remember the dad saying, I was like, what kind of jobs can you get then in the industry? And so, you start giving him your sort of, oh, well, you can do this, that and the other, and there's lots of things you can do. And literally, as soon as the door closed, he just looked at me and went, really? Because my daughter studied here like 3 years ago or something, and she's still unemployed. And it was just like this feeling of, you weren't supposed to do that. Like, I don't know is the answer. I think we're all sort of winging it a little bit.
Really awkward because like I've done quite a few. I mean, the open day what we did, oh my god, we were both thrown in the deep end because I literally thought I was just going to show people around. That I literally thought that was going to be my job, and then the teacher ended up being like, no, you're going to tell them about the courses and everything. And I'm like, I don't know what's on some of the courses because I haven't done them. And it's like,
I think I'd been there about 2 months or so. I think I'd been there at that point, and so I was just told, right, tell everyone about the courses. I don't know about the course. Like,
exactly, it's like I only know about the course I've done.
Yeah.
And then, funny funnily enough, one of the courses what I'd done didn't even exist anymore when that open day came. So I was like, I can't tell them about a course that doesn't exist anymore. And I've done, when you came in, you kind of like saved me on like, because they kept asking me about like level 1 and level 2 stuff. And I'm like, I don't know, because I didn't do that.
He does.
And when you came in, I was like, oh my God, he's my hero. And it was just, oh, it was so good. And obviously best of friends. I see you on like loads of shoots now. Because I know you're just interested and you just want to get involved and everything. That's like with me as well. So
I think
very
there's
nice.
a lot
But
of
yeah,
people.
when it comes to the open days, I've done quite a few now, and obviously you've got the $1 million question of the parent. It's mainly the parents that ask it, not the student. And the parents like, yeah, well, are they actually going to get a job out of it? Are they actually going to get paid for it? And I think the teachers usually like the students coming in and doing the open days because we're very honest. Whereas the teachers kind of sugarcoat it in a way, because obviously they want people on the course. They're like, come on, it's fine, come on. Whereas the students, we're actually doing it. We know it firsthand and everything. We know what the work's like. We know what the stress is like. So when the parents then ask me like, yeah, but are they actually going to get a career out of it? It all depends on the person. It all depends on their work ethic. It all depends on the work they produce as well. It depends on how passionate they are. And then whenever I say that to them, they shut up then because they're like, you know, because I'm literally like, it's all down to them. I'm like, if they really want a career in the film industry, they'll work hard for it and they'll understand what they have to go through to end up getting into the industry. But if they just want to come here to just learn about it for the fun of it and they don't really mind about not working it, then that's also okay. Like, you don't need to know what you want to do. Like, you know, you've got all the time in the world. You can change your career at the age of 50 and go into a completely industry altogether, which is like completely fine. But yeah, the $1 million question of, yeah, well, because I had that as well. I had a parent come in being like, oh, well, my daughter came here, she did film and she's unemployed. And I'm like, yeah, well, okay, well, no offense, but that's her problem.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, not like, no offense whatsoever, but it's like, there's no guarantee you're gonna get a job in the industry. Even for the people who do want a job in the industry, there's still no guarantee. Like, you know, even with doing a degree and everything, like, yeah, don't get me wrong, if anything, it puts you, when it comes to employers, if you're going up against someone who doesn't have a degree, then yeah, then you're going to look a bit more appealing. But it all depends, like, because even though you're going up against someone who doesn't have a degree, they might have produced so much more work than you, and it might be better. And it just proven that they didn't need a degree, and then you could have done a degree and then produced rubbish work from it. So it all depends.
I think a lot of the industry is a little bit more of who you know. No, I think if you have the sort of passion in that, and then people will identify that, they'll have you on a shoot, and then you're in with that group. So I think, for me, I see myself sort of right at the bottom of, very beginning. I look up to you, who has been on loads of different shoots, doing lots of different things. I look up to the likes of Lewis Clements, who I've worked with a few times as a runner and things like that. And anytime you get these little opportunities come through, to that person it's sort of like, oh yeah, we'll get him in, he can do this. To me, it's like, right, I need to learn everything I can about this thing. And then from that, you learn so much more to put into your shoots, which means the next sort of people coming up look at you and think, well, he knows what he's doing. And I think it is a lot of, there's a big sort of community, I think, around our lot, I think, and everyone does sort of look out for each other and we help each other out, and people want to share what they have, I think. So you've worked on various films. I'm not going to list all of them because I don't know all of them. It's my research. I know Abatement, Parasitus,
yeah.
One of them. You worked with Five Pence Productions. How did all of the, in various different ways, I think you were a runner on some, you were behind the scenes on some. How did you get involved with those films?
So I'll talk about Abatement first, which is due to be released this year, but because of all this going on, I don't know. But when it came to them, I met the director at the Expresso 90 Film Festival, and I'd submitted my film Patient Zero, and he was on the panel judging. And my film Patient Zero ended up winning the festival, which was really cool and surreal. And I'm like, how? It's a very surreal moment. But after I won the award, I got to go up and meet all of these directors and producers, and I was very surreal. Obviously, just mind blown. I had no words. That's the first. But and then I went up to them, and obviously they were like, "Oh my god, your film was really good," and I'm like, why do you think it's good, and all that. It's just, I couldn't comprehend what was going on. And then I was just talking to them about their work and everything, and being like, oh my god, and then I was just saying to him, look, if you ever need any help whatsoever, I'm free, so please call me. And then it came to a point where they turned around to me, and obviously they saw what I did with Patient Zero, and obviously they just saw how eager I was and how passionate I was, and I was just really determined and excited. And then the director of Abatement, Gary Rogers, he messaged me, and he was like, "Do you want to come down?" He was like, "You can literally just come down and just watch us film," because he knew I'd even be excited by that. And then I was like, "Oh my god, yes!" But then I was like, "Oh, actually." I was like, so I wanted to try and get involved however I could. So then I said to him, I was like, oh, is it okay if I do some filming? Can I get some behind the scenes stuff for you? Because one, I can add that to my portfolio, but two, they can use it as promotional stuff, and then it means I've actually helped them in some way. And then they were like, yeah, sure. So then I went onto the set, and that was my first ever experience on a feature film. Now I had massive high expectations of that, thinking, oh my god, all I've been on is student films. So, which I'm not saying is a bad thing, but you would think from a student film to a feature, there'd be a difference. So I go on there thinking, oh my god, oh my gosh. And it was in Stourport where it was filmed, or Stourbridge. And it was this abandoned open field that literally looked like a location in Stranger Things. And the first thing what we had to do when we get there was climb over a barbed wire fence. And then I was like, is there a risk? Has the risk assessment been done? I was like, oh my gosh. And I just really wanted to make a really good impression, because I thought if I do really well on this shoot, there might be an opportunity they could ask me to come on the next shoot, and then the next shoot, and then the next shoot. So I really wanted to make sure that I was on top of my game and being quite professional. And as I was going there, I was carrying all the lenses and the tripods, and I was one of the only girls on the shoot as well, which was quite weird. And then all the boys were coming over, being like, "Do you need any help with hand?" I was like, "No, I'm fine." And then I'm like, "No, my arms are really aching, and I'm fearing for my death," because it was just massive drops. And it was just, I just wanted to get involved. And then we ended up, because we went for a lunch break, we ended up going back to the director's house. And I was like, oh my god. I was like, wow. And then we went into his little editing studio, and it was quite nice to know that he was using Premiere Pro and After Effects. And I was like, oh my god, we use them. And I was like, I would have thought you would have used something more professional, or I'm not saying it's not professional, but I thought they'd use something
thing that we've never even heard of,
yeah. And it was quite nice, because then he sat down, he showed us how he was color grading, and that was also really fun. You can learn so much more stuff on a feature film set than you can in a classroom, and that was really eye-opening and everything. And then we ended up staying for the night shoot, because my camera had completely died, so I was like, great, I'm literally stuck to just my phone now, which I didn't want to bring out because I didn't want it to look unprofessional. And then we ended up actually helping him on his Red camera. And obviously, all filmmakers out there will know that a Red camera is very, very expensive and very professional. And he allowed us to actually go on it. And I was so scared. I was like, oh my gosh, I don't want to break this. But he actually needed us to be at a part of the actual set. And then I was doing some lighting stuff, and he was teaching us how to do it. And we actually felt like a part of the team. And not once that day did I feel like I was below any of them. Obviously, in my mind, I was thinking it, but they never made me feel like that. They made me feel like I was just as important as them. And that was really, really cool. And then same with Parasitus, because obviously it was the same people who worked on Abatement. they knew, obviously they saw how I worked on that, and then they saw the video what we produced for them, and I literally just threw it together and was like, here you go, have this, you don't have to do anything with it, but here you go. And then he absolutely loved it, and then he promoted it, and then they asked us to come on Parasitus, which is a TV pilot due to come out, not sure when. And that was really cool. We got to meet even more people. We got to meet a director called Tony Jopia. There was also someone who worked on there. One of them had worked on Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which was insane. And another thing which made me fangirl was the lighting director on Parasitus was also a location manager on Stranger Things in season 3. And I lost it. To me, that was me making it, just being on a set with them, and I ran up to them. Like the minute I found out, I was like, how? Oh my God, how? Just how? You're from here? Why? Oh my God. And then got talking to him. I even recorded a conversation what me and him had, and that was really eye-opening as well. It's literally just it's just putting yourself out there, really. And it's the thing of, if you're really passionate about it and you really want to get, that's how you're going to do it. Like, you're not gonna get these opportunities if you don't ask. It's that saying, if you don't ask, you don't get. You know, so then it through that, and then seeing me through that, then they asked me to come on to the next one, and then I actually had like an actual role on that one. I produced a load of behind the scenes videos for them. Again, it was because I suggested, oh, why don't we do videos? You know, oh, we can also do your photography as well. It's like showing that you can provide something to them, and just showing that you're interested in everything. And then obviously we gave them those videos, they really loved them, and then they promoted them as like weekly things, and that was really cool. And then after that, I went to Birmingham Film Festival because there was like an open panel there, and it was just listening to filmmakers talk about their experiences and how they got into the film industry. And then I went up to them afterwards, and I was like, oh my God, you're really, really cool. And then I said to him, I was like, I've got a podcast, and I'd love to like talk to you about your experiences. And I was like, you don't have to come on, but you know, I was like, if you want to, you can. And they were like, oh my God, yeah. And they were like, we've actually heard of the Monday Media podcast. And I was like, how? Because with me, I think that no one listens to it. And because I'm like, why would you listen to it? Which is like defeats the point. And then got talking to them, and then obviously got them in the studio, and then all that jazz happened with them talking about their experiences and all that. And then again, it came to a thing of, because they just saw how interested and passionate I was, they were like, do you want to come help out on the shoot what we're doing? And I was like, yes. And then I was going on there to just do behind the scenes, because obviously I'd shown them the stuff I'd done on Parasitus. And then their audio guy like dropped out literally on the day, and then they turned around to me, and then they were like, do you know how to do audio? And I was like, well, I hope so, because I do a podcast. And then they were like, right, we need you to record sound for this film. And I was like, okay. And the equipment was literally the exact same what we had at university, so I was like, okay, I feel comfortable because I know how to use this. So then I ended up going from behind the scenes to an actual, like, one of the main people on set, and that was really surreal. So it's literally, to try and sum this all up, because I've now spoke for God knows how long, it's basically just putting yourself out there and just showing them that you're interested, and just being determined to do it, and just wanting to show all your skills, as well as also wanting to develop your own skills as well. And that's basically it. It's just reaching out to people and being like, hi. It's like that saying, you know, I'll scratch your back, you scratch mine kind of deal. Because I feel like, especially with like our lot as well, like all of our friends, it's like, look, you know, I've helped you on yours, can you come help me on mine? And it's like, yeah, it's just that. It's just, I mean, I just see that as common sense. So, but yeah, I think that's the question.
No, yeah. I think I've found, I think it's imposter's syndrome or whatever they call it. If it's like, I think because I've made the thing, I know what went wrong. I know what problems have come into it. So then I think when someone starts talking to you about it, oh, that was really good, you're like, no, it's not, you're just being nice. Like, right. But then I think being on some of these sets where, I mean, I was also on Elliot Roberts' film.
Yeah, we got to be production assistants together.
Completely forgot what that's called. Bert Bassett, the life satisfaction survey, something like that. I'm sorry, Elliot. Being on that, I think for me it was like, this is a big thing. Like, this is going to be professional. Everyone's going to know what they're doing. And that sounds like I'm saying they didn't know what they're doing. Everyone knew what they were doing, but you go on there and it's a lot more relaxed and people are talking to you and it's like, oh no, you just I'll just sit in the corner and like get on with it. But people want you to get involved and people want you to like help out. And I've been on shoots where, exactly like you say, somebody needs you to jump on audio and okay, yeah, I'll learn. Like, I can do that, yeah. And I think it takes the person in that position. I mean, take every opportunity you can get. If someone offers you something, find a way to make that work, because you'll learn. Like you said earlier, you learn 10 times more being on a set than you do being in the classroom. And I think if there's one thing I could tell anybody as being at that very bottom level, it is go for every opportunity, because the people in the media, I'm sure there are some people, but from what I've discovered, nobody's in it for themselves. Everyone wants to get a bit of help. Everybody that you think is amazing thinks that they're not. And everyone sort of feels the same.
I'm guilty with having imposter syndrome, because I remember after winning the talking about the Expresso 90, I wasn't even going to submit at all. Like, I didn't want to, because with Patient Zero, for people who don't know, it's a short 90-second film about a patient who has ended up in a hospital, doesn't know where he is. We don't know who he is either. A little Easter egg in there, if people didn't see, on his hospital tag, it says John Doe. And people keep thinking that's his name. But if you know what John Doe means, John Doe is actually given to male patients if they are unidentified as a person, so you call them John Doe, and then if it's a girl, you call them Jane Doe. So that's why I called him that, because I thought common sense. But a load of people were like, "Oh, John Doe, why did you give him that name?" And I'm like, "How do you not know?"
Just Google it, yeah.
But I made Patient Zero because I was doing an experimental unit at university, and I wanted to improve on my technical skills, because I just felt like they were lacking. So I literally took so much advantage of that unit, being like, you know what, I'm just going to experiment with cameras, I'm going to experiment with lighting, I'm going to experiment with editing. I just want to use this to my advantage and be like, I just want to get better. That's just it. And I even put that in my proposal. Like, the teacher was like, "So what are you going to do?" And I was like, "I just want to get better. I just want to improve on my technical stuff, because I feel like that could be a lot better than what it is." And he was like, "Okay." And then Patient Zero, I literally just did it because I did a head spinny effect in it. I don't know what that effect is called, so I call it the head spinny effect. And I saw that in a Fozzy music video where everything was kind of like in normal paced, but it was also fast motion and it was also slow motion, but it looked like it was all happening at like the same pace. And I was like, I want to do that. I don't know how I'll do that, but I want to do that. And then I literally went in there, asked my friend Jay, because he's just weird in general, in the best way possible. So I knew he'd be perfect for the role. And we literally went in there, and then I used literally everything in there, what I found. We found a wheelchair, and I used that. Half of that room was a classroom. So I made sure to not show any of that in. I wanted to make it look like a hospital. There was also some dummies in there, because obviously it was a health and social care classroom. So obviously they practiced their education on the dummies. So I wanted to use them because I thought they looked pretty creepy, like just in general. Like, I remember the once I was walking up the stairs, walking past that classroom, and all I saw in the window was that dummy, and I jumped. I was like, oh my god, there's a dead person. And then I looked, I was like, oh, it's just a doll. So I was just literally just using anything I had in that room and just taking advantage of it and just trying to work with what I had. And I literally just walked into that room with a cinematographer and an actor, and walked in there, had no script, had no plan. All I knew was that I just wanted to do this one effect. And then we walked in there. The first thing we filmed was the effect. And then I was like, right, what now? And I told my friend Jay Scott, who played Patient Zero, to get in the bed. And I was literally just saying to him, I was like, right, slap yourself. And he was like, you are? And I was like, just do it, just slap yourself. And he was like, why? And I was like, just trust me, it'll work. It might not work, but just do it. And he was like, okay. And then there was even things where I said, Jay, just spaz out. And he was like, what are you on about? I was like, just do it. And I was like, punch the pillow, do this, do that. And he was literally just trusting what I was saying, trusting that in my mind it was going to work. And I had no story whatsoever. And I was like, act all robotic, act scared, act like, oh my God, what the fuck is that? Oh God, sorry, I swore. Yeah, so then going from that, and then it wasn't until I got down to the edit where I found the story. And my friend Callum O'Connor, who's an amazing person in general, he helped me with the effect. He helped me with like the whole edit. He helped me with the whole thing basically. And it was finding the story through the edit. And I was like, oh my God, this is really cool. And literally, yeah, that whole thing was just because I wanted to test out if I could do that effect. That was it. I didn't have no intentions of submitting it anywhere. That was also a trial video as well. It wasn't even the thing what I was going to submit for my work. It was just a trial. And then obviously I submitted it for my work. And then me just thinking, being like, it's just a test, doesn't mean anything. I submitted a whole separate video. That was the actual final thing, which was completely different. And then I had our tutor walk in. I was literally in the room doing last minute work, and he came in and he said to me, he was like, have you submitted anything to the Expresso 90 festival? And I went, no. And he went, why not? And I went, because I don't have anything. And he was like, yeah, you do. And I was like, no, I don't. I was like, and he went, yeah, he went, that film, what you did for what you submitted for experimental. And I went, that's rubbish. I went, that's not a 90-second film. I was like, that's just me testing out an effect. And he was like, just submit it. He was like, trust me, submit it. That was literally the day, like the deadlines were due, and he went, submit it now. And I went, no, it's rubbish. And he went, no, do it. And I was like, no, there's no point. Because I was saying to him, I was like, there's people in this whole year that have gone out, made these films knowing it was going to be for the festival. I haven't done that. And I was like, it's going to be rubbish. I don't, it was just a test. It doesn't mean anything. It was just for my coursework. And he literally said to me, he went, I want that submitted by the end of the day. And so I was like, all right. So I submitted it. And then as I was submitting it, it had no name. And then Callum was like, what's your film called? And I was like, oh, I don't know. And he was like, well, it needs a name. And then I was like, well, patient, because he's a patient. And I was going to call him like patient 3, because there was like 3 hospital patients. But then I really like The Nightmare Before Christmas, and there's a dog in it called Zero. This is really random, I know. So I went, oh, patient 0. I didn't know that obviously patient 0 is actually a term for like, I don't want to say it, for like weird. I don't know. But patient 0 is a term for like weird stuff. And
first of a kind.
Yeah, so then that came about, and then it was the day before the actual festival was going to happen. And again, the teacher came into me and he said to me, he went, oh, are you going to the festival? And I went, nah. And he went, why not? And I went, well, I'm filming a documentary, so I can't, I'm busy that day. And he was like, oh, come on, it's only for an hour. He was like, come on, you'll be fine. And I said to him, I went, no, because I've got a deadline tomorrow and I still haven't finished it. And then he was like, I'll let you off. And I was like, come on, just come down. And I was like, no, I've got loads of work to do because of you. And he was like, no, come on, come down. And then I actually turned around to him. I went, no, it's rigged. I was like, I'm not going to win. I was like, and then obviously it's hilarious now that I turned around and went, it's rigged. And then it was a complete last minute decision. I'd got into town and the festival was starting in half an hour, and I got to town because I was meeting my friend, and then it was just by chance that we were available to go. So when I showed up, bearing in mind I'm literally just wearing what I wore on the film shoot. Now, obviously, going out on film shoots, you just wear comfortable clothes. So I was like in a hoodie and like, you know, jeans, and I looked like a mess. And then I walked in there, and then obviously my teacher was like, "Oh my God, you're here!" And I was like, "I know." And then I said to her, I was like, "I didn't mean to be," and I was like, "I didn't want to be either." You know, I'm here. And then obviously we go in, we watch all the films, mine comes on, I bloody hide, I'm like, oh my God, this is terrible. And then I'm sat in the seat, and I turn round to my friend, and then just as they're about to announce the winner, I go, "Oh, come on, let's leave." I was like, "Let's leave, you know, I want to go home." And I had two champagnes. So what I did was I downed them like really fast. Bear in mind, I already had quite a few drinks before the event started. So I was like downing drinks. And then as they announced my name, I was like down the drink. And then I kind of choked when they said patient 0. I looked at my friend. He looked at me. He couldn't stop laughing. So I was like, what's happening? And then, because obviously my teacher then looked at me, he saw that I just downed a drink, and then my friend Sam was looking at me. She couldn't stop laughing because she was like, "Oh my God, you're tipsy." She's like, "How are you going to get down the stairs?" And then as I was like walking past people, I'd spilt over my friend's drink, and then I'd got down, and I said something really stupid in front of all these filmmakers. I turned around and I said, "I don't even like Expresso."
I remember that, actually.
Yeah, and I was just in shock. I couldn't believe it, because to me, and I felt really bad, because there'd been students who had like made these films for the festival, hoping to win, and then I submit because I was forced to. And then me being like, "It's rigged," and then it ends up winning, and it blows my mind. Obviously, it's really nice to look back on it, and I mean, I'm still confused by it all, and it is imposter syndrome. It's, you know, my friend always says to me, he goes, "You don't see what everyone else sees." He goes, "You are very self-critical. You don't see the positives in your work." He's like, "You just focus on the negatives." Like, there's something in Patient 0 that really, really bugs me. It's just a little tiny little thing. And my friend was like, "Yeah, well, no one notices it." And I was like, "Yeah, but I notice it." And he was like, "Yeah, but the whole, you know, it's great. I just don't." Whenever people compliment me, I'm like, okay. It's kind of like I don't believe them. I'm like, yeah, all right. It's not because I don't appreciate it. Of course I appreciate it, but it just mind-blowing.
It's warranted something like...
Yeah, and there was this one thing what a filmmaker said. He basically said about when he watched my film, Patient 0, it made him feel inspired and it made an impact on him. And I was like, "Are you sure you watched?" I was like, "Are you sure?" I think I even said to them about, because I said to them, I was like, "Why is mine won?" I was like, "If mine's won, how bad was everyone else's for mine to win?" And then they were all just really confused, because they were like, "Why is she acting like this?" And it's not because I didn't appreciate it. It's because I just couldn't comprehend it. And it was like with the little trophy what they gave me, which is like really, really cool and everything. Obviously I took it home and then I put it on my shelf, but for ages I didn't put it on display because I just couldn't relate to it. That sounds so stupid.
I said the same last year. I entered a film into Expresso's second thing, and with that, like, I wasn't happy with it. It was this thing that was going to be amazing, and when we shot it wasn't that good, and then when I finished the edit I was like, this is awful. I couldn't get the song that I wanted. I couldn't get any. I was just like, you've wasted so much time now. Just put it in and you've posted it, whatever. And I got the email saying that it's gone through. It's going to be in sort of the final screening, and I was like, oh well, they must just screen everyone's film. Then it's obviously just a sort of pity thing. I remember we were talking. There was a group of us that had all entered. And I was like, yeah, but you know, they obviously just put everyone's films through, and they were still going, oh, they didn't put mine through. And I was going, oops.
Yeah.
I was like, oh yeah, mine didn't get in. I was like, shit. And then it's that thing again of like, yours was a lot better than mine. I know how much work you put in, and I just think
weird feeling because I've been in that position as well. Because obviously there was the Expresso festival, and then I got entered in. This was another weird thing. Because obviously, we've got amazing teachers who obviously believe in us and push us to do our best. Because they know what we can do and everything. They probably see it more than we can see it. And one of my tutors, there was a Stratford-upon-Avon film festival, and we'd been away because of like Easter or something. And then I go back in after Easter, and then my tutor goes to me. He goes, "Oh yeah, I submitted your film," and I went, "What? Is that even allowed?" I was like, I had no idea. He just submitted it for me. And then I said to him, I mean, thank you, but
don't do that again.
I said to him, I was like, what have you submitted it to? And then he went, I submitted it to Stratford-upon-Avon Film Festival. And I was like, oh, okay. And I went, right, thank you. And then that was it. And then I just didn't think of it then, because obviously I had no idea what was going on. And then it wasn't until, I don't know, like after May half term, I know we had another week off, and then came back after that week off, walked in, and then my tutor comes up to me. He's got a trophy, a certificate, some prizes, like a voucher, and another voucher to like a cinema thing. And he hands it all over to me, and I've gone, what's this? And then he goes, oh, you won? And I went, what did I win? And he goes, you won the festival? And I went, which one? And he went to Stratford-upon-Avon one, and I went, oh, okay. And I was like, what's going on? And then I was awkwardly in a room full of a class who apparently all knew about this festival, had all made films for this festival. Some of them didn't even get in. And I'm sat there quiet, like, and then one of them, this is the funny part, one of them said to one of them, was like, oh, do we even know who won the Stratford-upon-Avon Film Festival? And then one of them said, oh, it was probably some posh idiot. And then
hello.
I was sat there, and then I don't know, I was laughing so much. I turned around and I stood up and I went, I'm the posh idiot. And it was so funny. Their faces were like, oh. And then I went, goodbye. So funny. Because it was just how they were like, oh, it was probably some posh person who, like, their film was probably really bad and everything. And I just go, yep, that was me. Goodbye. Oh, it was so awkward. And you kind of feel bad because obviously there's people who have, like, gone into it, making a film specifically for that festival, obviously wanting to hopefully get into the festival, and then obviously wanting to win the festival. And then there's me, didn't even submit. Someone else did it for me. It got nominated, and then not only did it get nominated, it then won. And then I did ask him, I went, so what happened when they announced the winner? Because obviously I wasn't there. And then he said, he went, oh, I think they just, I don't know, they just went up and said they accepted it for you or something. I was like, how awkward must that have been? And so yeah, and then obviously another situation happened like that where I submitted Patient Zero to the Out of the Can Film Festival, mainly just because it was free. I just submitted it because I just wanted to see how far it would get. And then I ended up being a finalist for Best Young Filmmaker of 2018. And it was just really, really weird. And then I submitted it to another film festival thinking, I was like, well, surely it must be good, because if it's winning awards, surely I've done something right. So I was like, okay, I'll try submit it to another one and see what happens. Literally, I was just submitting it just to see where it would go. And then it got into another festival, and I got down to the final 3. And then they screened it at another festival. It was the Worth 3-minute festival. I think that's what it's called. And every time it does something, and even though it's won these awards, I'm still kind of oblivious to it all. I'm like, how, why, where, when? But in my mind, I'm like, well, surely I did something right if people are recognising it and seeing the good in it. And then there's me, just like, I find it all hilarious. As much as I appreciate and I'm so grateful for it all, it's all very surreal and weird to me, and it's very hard for me to turn around to that project and be like, yeah, being like all like, oh. But it's really hard for me because I just feel weird doing that, and I feel weird when other people are like that. So what was the question?
I've lost track, but I'm enjoying listening to this has been a brilliant, just let you go. Like, I think in terms of festivals, I think a lot of people obviously have the same thing that we've both had of, oh, it's not good enough, I won't bother. Would you now, having had that experience, recommend that if you've got a film or if there's a festival that you know, just enter something, or would you think maybe like take a bit more time on it and...
I mean, it all depends on the type of person you are. I mean, if you're anything like me, where you just like, what the hell's going on? I'd say just go for it. Like, just because when it came to the other film festivals, I'd only submitted it then because the first Expresso 90, I was peer pressured into submitting it. The second one, I didn't even submit. And then after those two, I was like, well, something must be right, so I'm going to submit. So just see where it goes, and obviously you never know what could happen. That's what I took away from it. And then obviously, if you are the type of person that goes out there, makes a film, and wants it to get into film festivals, that's also completely fine. So yeah, just go for it, because you never know who's going to watch your film. You never know. It's like with this podcast, when I went to the Birmingham Film Festival, and they're like, oh, I've heard of your podcast. And I'm like, why did you listen to it? Like, you know what I mean? I know I shouldn't be really hard on myself. Like, I don't take my own advice. It's like when I do interviews with people and I come out with all this stuff being like, yeah, you shouldn't do this, you should do this, blah, 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 blah. Do I take it? No, I should. But, I think everyone's kind of guilty of that. But I think if you're passionate about something, then obviously, yeah, just go for it. You never know what could happen, and you don't know who it could reach. Maybe one day someone could go out and see your film, and that could be your opportunity. That could be the thing that opens the doors for you. Like, because didn't that happen to Justin Bieber? Like, he was on YouTube, and was it Usher who saw him on YouTube, and then so I mean, you just never know what's going to happen. So expect the unexpected. That's how I see things now, and it's like I've now got an idea for a future project, and it's quite a big project. I'm not going to say anything because it might not happen, but I've got an idea now, and this is the first ever project where I've kind of thought to myself, oh, maybe I could submit it to a film festival. So I've never been in that mindset. I've always just made something and then just been like, let's just see what happens. And so now going into a project differently, having that mindset of, maybe this, if it is good enough, it could go to film festivals. So it's very weird having that mindset now. So, I mean, like I said, it's a massive thing of imposter syndrome, but you've just got to, again, it's one of those things, I'll say it, but I don't believe it myself when I should. You've just got to have more faith in your work, and you know that you can do it. Try not to what other people say. Some people might have an opinion on your work, and they're just doing it to have an opinion. It might not be right, what they say, but even, whatever they say, just take no notice. Just, because you can't let people hold you back, because I've been guilty of that, where I've heard like a comment being made about my work, and all it was like a little criticism just to help me improve and to see a different perspective. But then that one little comment, I've then gone, I'm not sharing it anywhere. I've got a YouTube channel with all my projects on, but they're all unlisted, so only people I send links to can see them. And then my friend is like, he's like, why are you not putting them to public? You need to put them to public. And I'm like, because I don't want them to go to the public. And then I don't want, and he's like, yeah, but you're defeating the whole point of being a film person, because it's like, how are you going to get recognised if your work isn't out there for people to find? And all my work is still unlisted at the moment, and I am kind of getting there, being like, I might say it to public then. So I'm a massive overthinker. Like, you know, it takes me a lot to. It was like with the podcast as well. It took me so much, because I don't like how I talk, and because I talk for England as well, you know, and putting my own opinions out there and putting my own experiences out there, and you're kind of making yourself a bit vulnerable, because then it means people can make a comment on you, and that's a very scary and daunting thought, that you're kind of, I'm the type of people being like, if you've got nothing nice to say, don't say it at all. And I've also got the mindset of, don't give people a reason to make a comment on you. So if you don't post anything, then they haven't got a reason to say anything about you. But that's kind of then letting them win, because if you're not posting anything, they are winning, because they've got control over you. So I'm very guilty with that, like just letting that happen. But I'm slowly getting there. I'm starting to try and see the positives in my work. It's like all the stuff what I did for Parasite, I saw those videos. I've still got them as unlisted, even though they were already shared on their things and had loads of comments being like, oh my god, it's really good and all that. And then I've still got them hidden. And it's like Patient Zero. It's still not out to the public yet. It's still like, the only people who have seen it is the people at the festivals and the people I send a link to, and that's it. And that should be out to the public now, because I talk on and on about it. But I just want to keep it to myself. And like I said, if I put it out there, then people can have an opinion on it. But, you know, criticism, you know, that's different. Like, if people comment being like, oh my god, this is really good, but why didn't you do this? Like, you know, why didn't you go this? I love stuff like that, because I can bounce off and be like, actually, you know what? Yeah, because that helps you develop your skills. But there is obviously a little part of me that's always worried if there's just going to be that one annoying person that turns around and just goes, it's rubbish. And that's also not a problem, because, you know, you could make stuff that, you know, people are not always going to like your work, and that's quite hard to comprehend. And it's fine. I mean, you know, like, you know, there's a lot of music I like, but there's also a lot of music I don't like as well, and that's completely fine. And that's the same when it comes to your work and your videos. It's a thing of, yeah, some people might like it, but some people might think it's rubbish, and that's also fine. And if you're the type of person that doesn't really like hearing the stuff of they don't like your work, then try to like block it out and just try to move on. And at the end of the day, shouldn't let them hold you back and like share stuff. Again, I'm sat here saying all this, but not taking it myself. So yeah, it's just one of them. It's like when I'm in all the interviews with other people on the podcast. Again, I'm saying all this stuff, being like, yeah, go do that, people. Yeah, because obviously I don't want people to like do what I do in a way where I'm just like keeping it a little hidden. I'm a very awkward person, but obviously, you know, I do believe that obviously if you share your work out there, and if you're passionate about it, then obviously share it to the world, share your vision to the world. But I also understand how hard it is to get over that first step. So yeah, I don't know what the question was again.
Well, I'm sure anyone watching this will join me in saying that you've been a pleasure to have on as a guest. You've been better than I could have ever imagined. I'm happy to let you keep going, but I am going to stop it. Hopefully, maybe at one point I can have you back on and we can discuss something else, or at some point I'm sure we'll see you again. But for now, I've been Tommy Reed, you've been Jemma, and you've been watching the Studio 2 podcast, so thank you. And that'll be it.
I feel like you probably only asked about 2 questions.